Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with
CJ Lou from the Fire It Up with CJ show.
Woohoo!
Woo! Ribbit, ribbit.
If you ever wanted to leap ahead in life and move from a frog to a prince or even a princess, then do we have the transformation show for you. Today we'll talk about getting guidance from your intuition, how to know where you want to go, how to transform your life, and leapfrog to a new level. That plus we'll talk about morning pages, puppy pleasure, spiritual RX, finding the right tool, death and cancer, oh boy, YouTube crash and burns, the power of tracking stress, frogs, send in the frogs, and what in the world the magnificent launch of awe has to do with anything. So welcome back to the show, CJ. Are you ready to
I
shine?
am ready to shine.
Woo!
Woo!
So I was thinking frogs today, and in my last interview, I was thinking frogs too. And I was like, well, I want to dress in green, but I don't have anything in green. So I've got this tree frog and all things frog behind me. And there you are, dressed in green.
Ribbit, ribbit.
Froggy green.
Ribbit, ribbit. That's more ribbit, ribbit. Woke up this morning and I thought I really want to wear green, but I know that Michael doesn't have a green shirt, so I don't know. But maybe his background will have green. So there you have
And
it.
and there we go.
Talking
And I
about
have,
intuition.
yes, definitely an intuitive hit. So let's start. And can you still see my image since I sent over the text to you?
I don't see your text, so I
You
don't see
don't
your
see my
text.
text. So
No.
what I'm going to do is let's pause real
Okay.
briefly,
Yep. Sorry. Oh no,
and
I got it. I got it now. I
can
got
you
it now.
still see me?
Yes, I can. I think Skype fixed that problem because I don't have that anymore with you.
Okay, because as long if you can't see me, then the recorder doesn't pick up me. So
Yeah. No, I can see you.
do let me know on that. Okay, so let's see. Where shall we begin today? Since we have our magnificent launch of awe coming next week, let's start with morning pages. What's going on there?
Oh, okay. So, I think did I mention I interviewed this is a classic, the Julia Cameron's Artist
Oh
Way.
yeah, she's one of our favorites. We have her on several times.
You do? Okay, she's fantastic. So I talked to her last Wednesday, and she had told me that her and I hadn't read this book. I read another book that you probably have interviewed her with, the 125 Prayers, and so I talked to her, and she was first of all she's a sweetheart. She's so sweet, and we were talking about the morning pages, which is an exercise that she has within this book, The Artist's Way. And what it is that you wake up and you write 3 pages. First thing you do is wake up in the morning and you write 3 pages, and you don't think about it. You just sit until 3 pages of information emanate from your being. And sometimes you just sit there because nothing is emanating, and sometimes something comes about. And so I started on Monday,
Mhm.
and or maybe did I? No, I think I started right after I talked to her. So I've been doing this every day, and I've been experimenting because I said, well, I meditate the first thing in the morning, so I don't know if I want to, like, first thing I want to do is write these pages. And she said, no, actually, if you write them, it actually helps your meditation. And some people view the morning pages as a meditation. I was like, okay. So I've been playing around with the kind of process of it all. But what was interesting is the beginning of the week, I got a message to call these 3 people. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I did. And then I got messages about, like, the day before a phone call. I literally heard messages that told me what to do during the meeting with this person. Um, and it was just so interesting because these morning pages, as far as I can tell, are tapping in. She said it's like a way to tap into your interior, and it's a combination so far of things to do, kind of like intuitive hits that come up. Uh, there's also like action items. Sometimes I get like I was trying to plan for the show that I told you about this Wednesday, and I hadn't sorted through all the questions, and they just came out handwritten in like 3 minutes. Just, and then I was done. I'm like, okay. So there's just like it just these morning pages have been interesting. So sometimes they're intuitive hits. I think a lot of them are intuitive hits. Sometimes it's just like guidance. Sometimes it's just like answering questions that are like rummaging through my head. So, anyways, I've been doing those, and um, sadly, one of the things that I contacted was a friend who just had like a weird mammogram, and she thinks that she may have cancer. And yeah, which I hope is not the case, but she's very convinced intuitively that it is. And yeah, so that was one thing. And then I contacted two other people who were both just having a really rough time. And I don't know, hopefully it helped talking to me. I mean, anyways, I was there. So yeah, so the morning pages have been phenomenal. I kind of like this new experience. So
Woo!
have you ever talked
So,
to her about that?
oh yeah, yeah. Our last interview was specifically on that because we have our automatic writing program coming out next week, and
Mm,
automatic writing is similar concept. It's tapping into the same stuff. It tends to be well, it's similar in many ways. And Julia, she's an angel first off, and she is absolutely amazing at helping you tap into your creative self, your creative
mm-hmm,
source,
mm-hmm,
which is phenomenal. And it all gets around the concept, which is today's show, so it fits in perfectly, which is if you want to transform your life, then you need to get guidance from within.
mm-hmm,
And that's what these processes are doing. So when you're sitting down, centering yourself in the morning and allowing the pen to flow, you're getting out of your intellectual mind, your mind that says how you want to do it, what you want to do, where you want to go, and instead you get this deeper wisdom, this deeper guidance that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And when it comes to transformation, when it comes to friendship, when it comes to the big questions in life, those are never handled with the mind. The
right.
mind's a
It's true.
safety device. It compiles information,
Right.
but you're tapping into something really special now. And this is a practice that if you keep up day after day, you build such a special relationship with your inner wisdom that you could just have these lengthy Paul Selig-like conversations or Neil Donald Walsh conversations with God, with
Mm-hmm.
yourself, with your intuitive side, and start to get to know a richness of yourself that you hear in your crystalline moments, but are often pushed away by the chatter.
Yeah, it's what is interesting is the practice that I've been focusing on has been non-dual tantric, and there are three stages, of which the final stage, or like the stage before you become enlightened, so to speak, is Shambhavalapaya. And during that stage, it's about surrendering to divine will. And you can say like surrender to divine will, and I say to myself, surrender to divine will, but I didn't really know technically, like I feel like whenever I'm moving intuitively, I'm surrendering to a divine will. Well, with these morning pages, I feel like divine will is dictating to me what it would like me to do that day. And so now, instead of the things I had planned, I do the things that divine will has asked me to do first and foremost. One of which is to read the first chapter of this book. So, like, I'm dedicated to reading the first chapter of this book today because, it's interesting because I don't get action items every day from these morning pages, but I get, maybe two or three during the day, and none of them take more than like an hour or two. So interestingly, like to follow divine's will, assuming that this is what it is, doesn't take long. I mean, I can get all my other mind oriented stuff done, but yeah, so I've really enjoyed these morning pages.
Cool. When we have people go into automatic writing in the morning, we have them tap in, dive deep, learn about themselves, learn about who they truly are and what our needs are. Before we wrap things up, one of the things that I teach people early on is how to uncover what your SMP is, what your single-minded purpose, what's the most important thing or few things you get to do, like you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
today that transform your day, that
Mm,
these are the nuggets that like they're the items that you can go your whole life. Jessica was talking about this with me on a walk earlier today, and she was talking about how she really wants to get a travel blog going over time. And she said it'd be real easy to say someday I'll
mm-hmm.
do that. But instead, through the writing, we hear today is the someday. Here's the one step you want to take today so that we're truly living our lives. The transformation is about being proactive rather than reactive. When you do this writing, you're getting in touch with your soul and you start to become proactive. This doesn't mean that you're not surrendered to the divine will, but as you're saying, you can hear the divine will rather than the will of 1,000 other people putting
Right.
you hither and thither.
Right. And it's nice to do early in the morning because what I've found is, again, it takes an hour or two to like, so if I do it early enough, by the time, if I wake up at 6:30 and by the time 9:30 rolls over, like I finish the notes and I've actually fulfilled half of the or most of the action items. Like, I can't call a friend at 8:30 in the morning, but for the most part, I've like kind of fulfilled or on route to fulfilling most of the action items that are asked on the list. So it's been really fun. And then some of them are fun, like, what it's like some of them are just like slowing down and noticing things that, because, and I'm sure, well, I don't know if you had this or not, but, you used to live in Hawaii. Hawaii is kind of like a magical, it's like a paradise. So you come back to someplace like Seattle, which is gray and raining for the last couple of weeks. And it's really hard to say, this isn't paradise. I want to go back to being in paradise. But the 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 practice for me has been being where I am and just loving it. Like, okay, it's a gray day. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful, northwest day. And like fight every tendency to go like, what? Raining again? Gray again? So that's been fun to kind of just play around with. It's all dependent on your perspective, right? You
All
can
of
view
it.
this as beautiful or paradise. It's up to you to decide.
And Maui was phenomenal for us, but Jessica got really, really sick, and we both got whacked there. For ourselves, it was so much energy that it was great to visit, fill our cups, leave, and then come back. But by staying, we molded, quite literally molded. And so for us, the paradise is within, but actually having to step off of Hawaii to someplace that was drier
Mm.
was actually what was best for us. And so it really is all about perspective and experience. And now you say, yeah, it's rainy and gray all the time. And I'm like, cool for the frogs, not so cool for Jessica. So I get this.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get that you get that. Well, what has your intuition been telling you lately? So you said
Wow.
that you were talking about guidance from your intuition and how to know where you want to go. How's that? What's that been
I
all
do
about?
I do automatic writing for about 30 minutes to an hour and a half every morning. And
Mm-hmm.
and, and I'm in discussion with the universe, understanding what's going on in my life, what are the next steps, where do I get to go. I had a fascinating dream early this morning for today. I had on a dream expert, Michael Lennox, on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the middle of the night, I hadn't gotten the dream yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went back to bed and I said, all right, I need the dream to talk about on the show. And I woke up and the dream had arrived.
Nice.
And it said something to the effect of, and I had the notes down for Michael's interview, bring your inner frog. So to
Wow.
remember my inner frog. And my inner frog is about transformation, about growth, about leaping ahead, about stepping into my power and my own capacity, and all of this through the process of transformation. And so I sat down, said some prayers, did a little meditation, jumped into my automatic writing, and had this discussion with the universe, so to speak, about what does it mean to step into my inner frogginess, which is why there's this giant
Yeah.
blazing red and green and orange and blue tree frog behind me. But I was given an understanding about how, and it's something we talked with Michael Lennox about today, the frog is one kiss away from becoming a prince. And
Mm.
so your inner frog is that transformative process about how close you are to stepping into your own power and what
Mm.
that means. And it's something I've been challenging my coaching clients a lot with lately. I think we're all being challenged by the universe a lot lately, which is to step into our own power,
Mm-hmm.
to step into the strength of our own 2 feet. And
Mm.
part of that stepping into the strength is leaning into the difficulty, is leaning into the challenge, is becoming more awake and aware. And of course, the one I always love to come back to, more self loving. And so we are having these discussions, we being me and my intuitive self, are having these discussions this morning of what that looks like. Now, it also tells me a bit about how Jessica is doing and about our upcoming move because her health. It's phenomenal now. I'm going to put it that way. So she is on a major uptick, and she is doing her writing every day and learning and getting guidance. And so we've just been getting this phenomenal understanding of where we are, kind of going back to Maui. One of the challenges we had on Maui is we were slipping into or off of the abyss without realizing it because we were stuck in the doingness of the experience. Even though for half a year, and I don't remember if I did it twice or maybe a year, 2 different winters, I spent 6 months holding space at a meditation retreat every single morning. And yet, I was still not able to pull my aperture back far enough to see big picture what was going on in our lives. Now, when I dive into this writing each morning, I'm able to step out of the pot that the frog is in, so to speak, and to be able to see big picture what's going on. And that has changed everything. It means I don't run blind into any situation. Can I be blindsided? Accident stuff happens. But I am more awake and aware of everything going on in my life.
I have a couple of different thoughts. One is that I've been writing about death, mostly because I had that experience in Hawaii where I felt like I was going to die, and I went to a writing class and I wrote up my whole retreat experience. And the writing teacher said, "Oh, talk about the Hawaii experience. That I think you can publish into an article because the rest of it I don't even know. I'm just writing it for my own behalf." And so she said, "Write that as an article." And so I've been writing that as an article. And the whole, when you go on retreat, there's kind of this assumption or hope that there's a hope that you're going to have transformation. And one of my observations as I was writing this piece that she's asked me to write is that you really don't transform if you're stuck within certain habits that you've gotten yourself into. And I thought back to Joe Dispenza, who said that at age 12, you're pretty much running on autopilot. Your unconscious is running on an autopilot filled with patterns, programs, and beliefs from your past. And you keep on running those beliefs, patterns, and past that you may have started at age 12, but then, you move to Hawaii, you pick up new ones, right? Like you have these new patterns and habits and that you pick up when you're in Hawaii. I did, even during like a 7-day retreat, I started having like a pattern because it's comfortable and it's structured and everything. But really the transformation happens when you throw all of those patterns and habits and all those things away and you let the power of presence in the universe guide you. And so that's what I'm hearing the morning pages does for you is it gives you kind of a sense of your interiority and what it wants, which gives the divine power, which is really the ultimate power, right?
Now, when I go to my automatic writing, I'm out of myself. I'm out
Yeah.
of my paradigm. I am quite literally out of my mind, and I often use binaural beat music when I do it. So it has this
Oh,
boop, boop,
that's a
boop,
good
boop, boop,
idea.
boop, boop, and it occasionally has frogs and water running and things, so that my thinking mind cannot participate in the process. And because of that, the words are they just like you're saying, it's outside of my paradigm, it's outside of my patterns. And that's how I know it's not coming from me. It's not advice that I would have given to myself.
Right.
And that makes it all the more powerful and all the more to be listened to. Life is a co-creation. Whether we believe we're in control or not, when that bus comes and sideswipes us, we learn that it's a dance of which we're a participatory member.
Right.
And so the more we get in touch with the dance, rather than just trying to drive that ship, the more there's a richness to life. And it is like you're saying, when you do this process every morning, particularly earlier in the morning or listening to binaural music or after a deep meditation, your brain isn't home.
Yeah,
And
she
you
said do it first thing in the morning for that same reason.
and so you are not on autopilot yet. You're not awake enough.
Right.
to be on autopilot yet.
Right. Right. And it's hard because sometimes I can't do it first thing in the morning, but I try. And I still think I don't know if I feel like a huge difference, but uh, yeah, I try. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I'm like, I know there was one more thing I was going to ask Michael. So you talked to Michael Lennox during the the eclipse in
Yes.
August. Okay, and then we had this phenomenal blue moon last Wednesday, and so I was reading astrologically what had happened, and when I read I didn't see anything on Michael Lennox's blog, but I did do like what's happening astrologically with the blue moon, and what I got was that it's a continuation and like closing the book on things that happened in August. So
Yeah.
anything that was unresolved about, I think he was saying like power, leadership, creativity, and I can't remember what the other ones were they're kind of Leo based thing. Anything that have not been resolved comes up. So it's interesting that, and I think it's kind of probably a 1 week spread from that next, that follow Wednesday, last Wednesday. So I'm wondering, what did the frog? So is it just the idea that you said that it's just a kiss away from becoming a prince? Was that the major thing, or was there anything else that you found about the frog?
I found many things. So let's see though. I'm not in my automatic writing. That's the thing. You get to go back and reread it.
Yeah.
But the biggest takeaway that I got from it is the transformation is taking place. You're in the middle of it. It's hard to see in the moment, but you are coming into your power. When you understand your power, everything will transform to a whole new level. You don't
Mm,
see it yet, but it's already there. But when you come to recognize it, everything changes.
wow.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what it looks like. I know it's real. And I know at the start of the dream, I got the same message as I got at the end of the dream, like a voice telling me this.
Mm,
And those are important. I was walking with Jessica, um, and walking with her, talking about this. We had gone for a run and we had finished the run, and we're talking about it. And just before we got to the house, and she was talking about an epiphany that she was having on having to do with starting her blog and what's coming up next for her. And I said, stop. I said something very polite and kind. I was like, hold on, hold on. And I turned to our left, and there are two bronze statues on the ground, and then one up on top of this mailbox, bronze frogs.
wow. Oh,
And those are
fantastic.
Michael Lennox. He said, he goes, you can't make this stuff up. It's punctuation marks from the universe that you are
Yes.
on track, exactly where you're supposed to be. And so the message this morning was transformation, allowance, stepping into your power, realizing it's already here. And then there has to be a piece of that surrendering to it, allowing it to happen. If I go, oh, I'm stepping into my power, I don't think that works.
I'm stepping up into my power.
All of a
That's
sudden
more
you
like
hear thunderbolts.
like a superhero. Yeah, I don't think it works that way either. And actually doesn't even look that way, because I think that one of the things that I actually had coffee with a friend yesterday, and she said, your eyes look different. And I said, really? And she's like, yeah, your whole energy is different. And I said, really? And she said, yeah, I have to say, I have never seen you be this calm. Like usually your eyes are racing back and forth and like, and she said, and she said, I've never seen you this calm. And it's interesting because I was thinking about this morning during the retreat. I don't know if I told you this during a previous interview. I had this phenomenal experience where the guru was breathing me. I told you that, right? And then at the very end, he said, this was a big shift for you. And I said, it was a big shift for you. And I was like, wait, were you asking me as a question or a statement? And he's like, a statement. And I said, okay. And I thought, oh, it's a thing that you're saying. I feel like at the time he said it, I felt it, but I didn't really know. You never really know like how long lasting it will be, what the shift is. Was it just a temporary shift? Is it a medium shift. Like you don't know if you're shifting into 1, 2, 3, 4 or neutral. Like you don't know what gear you're shifting into. You just know. But it's interesting because I've been able with my meditations to go more into a silent, deep place, which I've never gone into before. And this morning, and in the mornings, I wake up and I literally feel buzzing in my heart, which I've never, it's kind of like, it's like the kind of excitement that you feel right before you're about to give a speech in front of, I don't know if you feel excitement, but it's kind of like, it's not quite butterflies. It's like, it's a combination of butterflies and something. It's like your heart is kind of like kind of getting all geared up to do a speech. That's how I get at least. And or the excitement when it's like Christmas and you're ready to open presents. It's just like this, that kind of energy. And now this morning I woke up and I was like, wow, like something happened, and I tapped that energy and I can feel that vibration. If I really slow down during a day, I can feel that vibration happening. And it's not as if I'm excited. It's actually the heart. And when it's open and full, it has this, I don't know, for me at least, that's what it felt like. And so that's been kind of a super cool thing. I don't even know how to explain it. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you feel anything similar?
I feel it tingling throughout, not specifically, but I do feel what the heart open feels like to me. That has a sensation to it.
Yeah.
And conversely, because I focus on that a lot, more than the heart open, I know what it feels like when it locks down.
Yes. Mine is just, it literally feels like a sea anemone closing, and kind of curling in on itself.
And when bringing it to transformation, when you're in that buzzy place, you can transform and do anything. It's why I like doing a heart math meditation. Breathing in and out from the heart is so powerful. Or if you can hear your heartbeat, timing your breaths with your heartbeat gets you in this special sync from where anything is possible. But when the heart locks down, that's not the time to make decisions.
Right.
That's not the time to step forward, because you're either going to go with head on autopilot or just step right into the pothole.
Right. Yeah, I think it's really a good point. And it goes back to, I was talking to someone last Friday after our interview, and he was saying, I've been doing mindfulness meditations and I'm just getting seriously teed off. I've just been pissed off for like a week. And I was like, oh, well, what's pissing you off? And, he said different things. Sometimes it's my mother. Sometimes it's my girlfriend. Sometimes it's my job. I'm just getting pissed off all the time. And I said, so what do you do? And he's like, well, I try not to feel pissed off. And I said, okay. And because in mindfulness, I think there's sometimes this understanding, like, it's like the Book of Mormons. They have this song where, like, whenever you have a bad feeling, it's like, turn it off like a light bulb, turn it off, like a light bulb. So, like, there's a sense with mindfulness that whenever you feel that kind of emotion that's negative and you don't want to feel, you just turn it off. And what was interesting, I was talking to my husband Gideon, and I said, there's a point in which, like, it reaches a certain toxicity level that you need another tool. Like, just turning off the light bulb is no longer sufficient. Like, and that's one of the things that I started investigating last week. I know you're dying to say something. What is it?
Turn it on like a light bulb. If you're pissed, go there, be pissed, lean in, discover, learn, write till the pen blows up, grab the next pen and write some more and lean into the pissed offness. Yeah. Because that is where you're going to break through to the other side. Like a massage therapist who finds that ow point and jabs her thumb into you. Right. And you scream and go, it's okay now. It's okay now. What you resist persists.
Yeah.
When you try to push that down, I was watching, because of you, CJ, last night I was watching YouTube videos on Mentos and Coke.
Oh, have you tried it?
No, we don't ever have Coke in the house or Mentos.
You gotta go to like a convenience store and buy it.
It's okay. We vicariously did it through through, and there was this one guy, the Russian hacker or something, the most hilarious YouTube videos. So we were watching, but anyway, the point is, if you tamp down, if you keep that pissed offness in you and switch, you can switch to another channel. And there is a time and a place for it.
And
When you're
sometimes
at
it
work and you're
works.
pissed off, yes, switch to another channel. But then come back to your writing and get it all out. If not, you've just dropped a whole pack of Mentos or Google baking soda and Coke straight into the Coke bottle,
Yes.
sealed it tight, and it's going to blow up.
Yep.
Instead, the pissed offness there is not there to hurt you.
Right.
It's there to heal you.
Yep.
It's there to teach you. It's there to guide you. Go in a sacred bubble, in a sacred space. That's why I like going in automatic writing and saying, I'm pissed off. What do I need to learn from this experience? And either I'll be given a lesson or I'll be told, you've got to just write about this until you purge and get it all up and out. Write about it, write about it, write about it, write about it. Then rip it up, shred it, burn it, do a dance around it, dance the Macarena. But
Right.
it is now out of you, and you've symbolically, like a shaman with you, you have symbolically expunged this thing, an alchemist transformed it from emotion to paper to carbon to gone. But there's a time and a place for everything. But keeping things bottled up and saying, I'm being mindful, so I'm mindfully just switching the channel, I think can create a whole slew of challenges, which usually over time have a physical manifestation in you. Because when you tamp down on that stress and anxiety and inner piss and vinegar for too long, it doesn't serve you, it doesn't help you, and it tends to bite you in the butt.
You know, I have this meditation called tension release, and it's like when you're burning through a lot, you need to shake it off, because if you don't shake it off, there's no place for that soot. It's someone described it, my teacher described it as like a fireplace. You've just burnt a fire, and after a while, there's like soot and debris, and even if it's good stuff, actually there's soot and debris because you're burning energy, and when that happens, you need to clean out the fireplace, right? Because otherwise there's just too much soot and debris in the fireplace and it doesn't work as efficiently. I have one more idea, because like just like you were using the analogy of the massage, right? Like sometimes you can just ignore it, go to a yoga class, like you've dealt with it on your own, and it's gone. I was irritated with someone at work, did a yoga class, I had an insight, it's gone. Other times it's been, like I said, toxic and it's building up. And you have to do the thing that you mentioned, which is like go in it. Like the tantric way is like go in it, live, go through it and like
Amen.
Understand it. And then the other way, which I love with Tosha Silver, is you're like, Lord, help me. Please take away this suffering, misery, anger, whatever it is. And just say, please, just please take this away. Which I think works too, which is kind of like the Swedish massage. You're like, please, someone make me
I
feel
will
soothed.
never argue against prayer. I
Yeah.
will always go to prayer. I will go to prayer, go to prayer, go to prayer, and then it's a two-step dance.
Oh, it
Then
is? Okay.
then I would go dive deep and see if anything is still there.
Yeah.
But when I am, if my emotions are on high, if something comes up, I've got, Ho'oponopono in the bag. I'm going right there, or I'm going Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, Archangel Gabriel, higher self, higher team, all angels, guide, and light workers here for my highest good and
Please help me
highest good of
remove.
all.
Yeah.
Please help me with this. Please take this away. I am not strong enough on my own to do this. I surrender, I surrender, I surrender. And I mean, that's what the 12-step program is
Yeah.
first, giving it up to a higher power. I could just as easily call that the giant cheeseburger in the sky. There's
Right.
no label that's required. If you say, look, I can't go this alone. Please help me with this. So we get tripped up in positive psychology, which is so beautiful, but we get tripped up on this concept that we have to remain positive, that thoughts become things. And so if you have a, quote, negative thought or negative idea, you're doomed.
Mm-hmm.
We can even take it to the extent you're a bad person if you have
Mm-hmm.
negative thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, nothing could be further from the truth. But thoughts are just thoughts. There is no negative or positive. Certainly, if you dwell on the quote unquote negative, the result is going to be different than you dwell on the positive.
Right.
But they're all there to serve us.
Right.
One can be bringing us closer to God, to presence, to source, to universe. One can be making us feel more isolated and alone and scared. That's sort of the Course in Miracles.
Mm-hmm.
What would love do? What would love do in this moment? Maybe love would say, now is not the time to deal with that pain, with that anger, that grief. Could. Great. Maybe love would say, now is the time we get to dive into it. We
Right.
get to have that trigger point massage.
Right.
Or maybe love would say, the answer isn't going to come from within you. Let it go. Give it to a higher power.
Right. Yeah. So and I think that it's interesting because I've noticed that some people they get fixated on their tool when sometimes like it's just like you can't use a hammer to do everything. So anyways, that's what was interesting about that spiritual RX is that sometimes I've seen that, like I actually use mediation as a tool to do that with two people at work yesterday. And, it's and you know what? They got like spun up. Both of them are rip roaring angry the next day, but I'm like, okay, good. Because that's like stuff that was in there, but that you guys have like tamped down to a level that you don't even feel it anymore. So we've got to get that out. But it's interesting, right? It has to be expressed. It has to be expressed. All right. So
Yeah.
I want to ask you about YouTube crash and burns. What's been happening?
So, if it isn't expressed, the last thought on this is, and several guests have mentioned it recently, if not, we go around, sort of like Dr. Bradley Nelson with Emotion Code, which is just a phenomenal tool. We go around not just in autopilot, but in zombie land. Mm-hmm. When we try to tamp it down, we build up what's called the heart wall, this wall of protection around us, and we move around in a robot trying to keep all of our emotions from getting to us. And we're not living.
That's a good one. I like it. Thank you, Bradley.
So, going to YouTube, we had our YouTube Live. We've been having tremendous success with this, and we had our YouTube Live on this past Wednesday.
Yes.
And we're now 7 lives in, and we got the crash and burn, which is we weren't able to figure out some of the settings right. And so we started this and it wasn't going live on YouTube, and we stopped, and we started again. It wasn't going live on YouTube, stopped. And it was 3 or 4 times before the YouTube audience, whoever was left, like half an hour in, got little snippets of this thing. It's okay. It's a learning. Part of why I'm expressing it here is if you are one of the people who didn't get it, we'll be back next week. Same time, same channel, 7/11 Eastern Time on Wednesday. But with that said, there's a learning in that too. There's a loving yourself. So I still have the Facebook audience, and I'm working with the Facebook audience, and it is posted on Facebook, and along with all of the, let's see if we can get the YouTube crowd going again, multiple times. But there was such a lovingness in the experience, a lovingness by the Facebook crowd. They're going along for the ride, a lovingness in us and in me that it's just fine. Mm-hmm. It's totally fine. If it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, great. It'll work better the next time. It's all a learning. And I think we can learn from these experiences, and that's part of the transformation, to realize that we transform, like tempering steel, we transform from heat and cold, from these extremes, from the experiences that temper us, meaning the challenges. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. And when you can catch yourself in a challenge and go, wow, I'm live, and it's not working. Like you're up on stage and the mic has broken and squelched everybody.
I totally get it, because the same thing happened to me on Wednesday. I think I was telling you that I called in 4 times, and it was like the following, where I would be saying like, so Michael, blah, blah, blah. And then you would be staring there looking at me. And then I was like, do you hear me? And then she would say, And then she would hear the delay of my question, and then she'd start answering the question as I was saying, "Do you hear me?" So there was this huge time lag between what I was saying, and then she kept on saying, "Do you hear me? Do you hear me?" And like the whole interview, first 10 minutes, and we tried 3 times, and that's now my rule. I think like on the third time, I'm out. Like this is just not going to happen. But yeah, I've had that. And how many times did you try? I'm just curious. What's your rule of thumb when you have these things where like technology not working, crashing and burning? How many times do you try and go, okay, I'm out?
I don't think it's a specific rule, but in this case, I think it was 3 times before I said, let's take some more Facebook questions and then we'll kind of wind things down. I don't want to leave anybody in a lurch, but the missing element for you in the interview, the missing element here perhaps, although I've been told by some coaching clients, they actually found it, they used the term brilliant, maybe because I was going through the challenges. But I guess they loved that I was sharing about, there was a personal story that I was sharing about, oh yes, the squirrel on crack who is no more, about me rewiring the mind from my ADD squirrel on crackness to now, which is something quite different. But there's a rhythm, a cadence to life. There's a cadence to this interview. We're doing a dance between the two of us. When there is too much of that lag, that delay, or quite literally the mind getting involved instead of the heart,
Right.
the gears start to jam.
I was like, I don't know what to do, and she was so disappointed. I'm like, I'm sorry, like it's not like she was kind of looking at me like it's your fault. And I thought, okay, I'm sorry, it's the technology, but I'm sorry, this is just not going to happen. I'm going to have to hang up, we're going to have to call it. But she just looked so sad. but then, I don't know, what do you do? So
Afterwards,
yeah,
please
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, afterwards, I would go to your morning pages, go to automatic writing, go sit up on a hilltop and say, why did this happen? What can I learn from this? And maybe it is the interview doesn't take place, or the interview takes place in a different way, or maybe it's that the topic where that was going to be covered is not the topic that you should go on. That
Right.
doesn't sound like these are any of the things, but these are the questions that you can be asking.
Yeah.
In our case, there was some water flowing uphill that said, even though you wanted to do this tonight, it's probably best to hit pause and regroup and go ahead and learn from it next week. And how can we do this extra kind, gentle, easy, good? Truth be told, Jessica was not feeling very well that night.
Mm-hmm.
In hindsight, there's no way to let a YouTube audience know. You can't actually email them, which is why I went ahead with it. Had it to do all over again, if she wasn't feeling well, I'd either do it all myself or pull the plug.
Right. Saying like,
And
hey, sick day, sorry,
bingo. The only reason I didn't pull the plug is because there's no way to let people know.
Yeah.
And that's the weird thing about YouTube. When you tell people there's going to be an event, you can't put up a sign, a billboard, and anything.
Canceled. Can't show
There's
canceled.
nothing you can do.
Right.
But her health is most important. And so I think universe was making very clear to me, and I'm walking this through right now. And although I know this intuitively, you can't veto that, period. If the health isn't there, if the energy isn't there, what comes first? Family. What comes first? Health. What comes first? Jessica. What comes first? Me. Even though I love to give and to give and to give and to serve and to serve and to serve, the universe was giving a wake-up call going, no, there's a time and a place. And if you veto it, and we're going to pull the plug on you. And metaphorically speaking, you may be like me. Jessica loves this about me. Instant karma, like John Lennon's song. Instant karma's going to get you. Knock you right up on your head.
Yes.
If I say something, do something that's out of line, I will trip and fall or stub my foot or something so quickly in our lives. It's just, somebody else might get
That's
away with it for
perfect.
years.
Yes.
Not me. And so that was, in a sense, an instant karma lesson.
Well, going back to intuition, you have your no. Like you have the universe no. For me, I have my neck snaps when it's a yes, or my arm goes up like this when it's a yes. But I don't have a universe no. So I think I need to actually come up with something like that.
Kind,
That's
gentle, easy, good. Kind, gentle,
yeah.
easy,
So
good. I
whatever it
want
is, please universe, give me kind, gentle, easy, good. No, like break my
quickly.
nose or tripping. But yeah, it's funny because I realize I have my yes, but I don't have my no signal, and that would be actually a good thing to have. So as to know, the one thing that happens is I have like bells. So whenever something is true, there'll be like birds chirping, like we'll be walking, and it's like, well, my husband will say something, ba 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 ba, and it's like, oh, 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 like, or just like
I get
the
it.
phone will go bing, 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 or sometimes just songs. Like I've said, I have a possessed phone that every now and then plays music for my behalf, and when I listen to lyrics, I'm like, yeah, good point, good point. It's like Transformers. There's a character that speaks through radio voices, so kind of like that. All right, tell me about the magnificent launch of Awe. Of
So,
Awe.
which
Awe.
is stands for what much better than me. Automatic writing experience. I'm not even going to try to go there with that voice. Uh,
Awe.
okay, I did. Automatic writing experience. We're launching next week. Yay, yay, yay! And
Oh.
it's a video series. Plus, we're going to have some live calls with people, and we're going to help walk people through step by step of dropping down from the mind what I call KEGO, all the voices that chitter chatter up above us, and helping people dive down into KHRT, K Heart Radio, all intuition all the time so that they can get guidance, so they can get words of wisdom, so they can get direction for their days to help make the transformation, to make the big decisions and the small decisions, and start to go on this journey, if not without a feeling of no longer being alone, then with a feeling of clarity and being able to step back the aperture to truly look at their lives. And this has been years coming. Jessica and I, when we crashed and burned on Maui, we didn't really have this tool. We'd just been introduced to it, but we didn't really know what to do with it. And so we didn't have that tool to step back from ourselves. We crashed and burned. The show started because of awe. All that's great that has come because of it, or since then, has become because of awe. This interview and my ability to be present in interviews and at a depth of presence that I didn't know I was capable of is from taking this time each morning and cultivating this practice of listening. And it has guided us each step of the way. So, like, I'm almost in tears now thinking about it. I remember writing in our awe book, which we'll hopefully have out later this year as well, and got it back from our second editor, and so thankful to her. Thank you so much, Jeanette. Um, it's like teaching people how to be their own Neil Donald Walsh,
Mm.
to get those divine words of wisdom anytime you want on a daily basis. And the more you tune in, you may never become Paul Selig. I'm never going to become Paul Selig. He's incredible.
Right.
But you get those divine words of wisdom, not in Shakespearean prose. Although I've had a few coaching clients who actually do get it in Shakespearean prose
Wow.
because it takes what you've worked with. It takes what you're
Mm.
bringing to the table. I don't bring Shakespeare to the table. If you've written poems, it's going to give you incredible poems.
Mm.
But it's like a democratization of the process of getting in touch with the divine or getting in touch with your intuition. You don't need a middleman. You don't need a shaman. You don't need a rabbi, a priest, and anybody, a guru. You sit down, you write, the pen flows, you learn about yourself, you learn about life. Just like I was talking with Mark Nepo yesterday or the day before, and we were talking about his version of journaling. You get in discussion with what he calls unity or universe or God or source. And it is out of this discussion things become clearer. We don't get all the answers to the universe. The universe is infinite.
Right.
But things become clearer. We understand ourselves better. We're much more at peace and at awe
Right.
with everything that happens. And Mark Nepo's poetry, his words are so incredibly beautiful. And what he is able to do, and I credit, or he would credit, his journaling for a lot of this. His shift, first off, with his near-death experience with cancer, and then his writing afterwards, his process of inquiry, is no longer do things have the good or bad tones to them, the right or wrong, the happy and sad, even having that negative and positive connotation. But he can see the richness in life of all that it is.
Beautiful.
So one morning he wakes up and his car has a rock thrown through the window, and there's shards of glass everywhere. And you go, oh my God, the car, it's, the glass everywhere, the window broken. Instead, he picks up the stone and he thinks of what this person went through and was going on in their heart when this experience took place. And he wrote about that. In this inquisitive process of writing, the world takes on a whole new meaning to it. And everything has, I think it's his term, and I've used it with mindfulness when we made our mindful running program, but it takes on an HD quality to it, a new definition to it, and everything changes. And so that's why I'm so excited that we're launching this program, is because everybody who's listening can share in that experience of talking with their own intuition, of learning about themselves, of getting wisdom and guidance. Can you imagine if you got guidance on a morning by morning basis, just like you're getting, and then you went into the office and the office isn't going well and things are blowing up left and right? Sure, it's easy to get sucked in, but now you've got this bigger picture understanding.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, you may even get a forewarning of it in your morning pages. And or a solution on how to deal with, like, you may find this morning that you actually may need blah, 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 blah.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. And it could even be wear a helmet. But on our most challenging days, I'm often told, bring extra love to Jessica. She's going to need it today. Bring extra love. And I don't know what's going to happen. But then when something does happen, I'm like, it's reminding me that what's most important in this moment isn't whatever the fire is that's going on. It's to dive back. You're showing us this mug here.
It's to dive back. Like when you were saying that, I'm
dive
like, wait.
Back
and then I'm like, wait a second.
Into love.
Into love.
It's a mermaid diving back.
And then look, on my cup,
love.
I have these two little angels.
Oh my God.
When you were talking, I'm like, you were talking, and for some reason I felt like I had to look at my mug, and I'm like, oh yeah, there it is. Dive back into love. That's just weird. Sorry.
As Michael Lennox said with his interview, which will air a few days before this, you can't come up with it. You can't make up this stuff.
Yeah, I didn't know you were going to say that. Look at this crazy mug. And this little blue whale is my husband's spirit animal. So that is me diving into love.
And that is so Maui as well.
It is.
Hawaii.
Exactly. It's thematically appropriate with your image behind you.
And there's green in it too.
I know. It's green. I mean, it's just, you can't make this stuff up. You really can't, because we don't coordinate. We're not this organized. So brief shameless plug.
Okay. InspireNationUniversity.com. We're going to have all sorts of classes in the future and programs, and this is the first one, InspireNationUniversity.com. And I'm so biased. I want everybody to get this because of how powerful and transformative it is if they take the time like you're doing in the morning, or like I'm doing in the morning, or even an express version like I have many of my coaching clients do in the morning, of even 10 or 15 minutes of diving into awe. It lifts this cloud of darkness off of you. You feel so much lighter, so much more alive. I've literally had clients who've been lifelong depressed, and it lifts because you're getting in touch with your soul. When your soul is heard, even if the soul has, like you were talking about with the gentleman in mindfulness earlier, even if the soul has angry words to share, if you let the soul be heard, if you hear an upset friend and they truly feel heard, it changes everything.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's true, actually.
All right. So do you have any last words? Oh, we didn't get to puppy pleasure.
Oh, we'll have to get to puppy. The simple thing is, well, I'll tell you later. Next
All
week,
right.
we'll talk about puppy pleasure.
Next week. Okay. So any last words of wisdom you want to share with people, CJ?
Um, I think that the answers are within the silence and the stillness. And so making the time through awe. And I'm just so thrilled with the fact that you're doing Inspire Nation University. I think that's brilliant. Congratulations. So those are the only things I wanted to say.
And that came from automatic writing and from Jessica, who does
Nice.
this every morning. And she said, we need to start the university.
Love you,
And I said,
Jessica. She's great.
woohoo!
Woohoo!
She is great. I couldn't agree more, CJ. So, on that note, for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler and
CJ Lou for the Fired Up with CJ show. Whoops.
I don't know what happened with the whoops there, but we're keeping it in. Saying, be well, have fun, have even more fun than we're having right here, right now. Tap into your inner wisdom, dive deep each day. And if it isn't the morning, that's okay too. Just take the time to be with yourself and your inner still voice every single day like oxygen if you can. And above and beyond all else, shine bright.
Woo!
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. I would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.